Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 762 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, October 15th, 2025, and it looks like it'll be a nice day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, and not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And I just realized again this morning that I forgot to put water in the thing. Oh no, I do have water. Ha! Okay. I must have left it pre-prepared it last night because I didn't do it this morning. uh, a big, sorry. I almost drooled on myself right there for a second. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, how's your mental health today? I'm already having a day. If you're in the live chat, you kind of have an idea what's going on. But for those listening, the show is starting about half an hour later than it normally should because of some tech issues. It took us 3 attempts to try to link up the show to get it to play on our YouTube channel. It was loading up everywhere but there. And then, yeah, it just a little tricky, and then trying to make sure that the program was posted to all the places so that people can watch it live. That was a tiny bit of a struggle too today. So but persistence pays off, and here we are all together, and we will try to do as best a show possible, even though I am a tiny little bit frazzled and definitely underslept because last night was a 9:20 match at the curling arena, which means I didn't get home well past midnight, and then you have a little bit of adrenaline and you got to come down and all that kind of stuff. So it was a very short night when there are 9:20 matches. So even though I look, actually the bags under my eyes are almost non-existent, which is really impressive considering I don't think I got 4 hours last night. I'm going to feel a little later today. I'm going to need a nap this afternoon, that's for sure. But for the moment, we are together and we are going to have a good time. Eager Beaver Lodge Curling Report. Unfortunately, last night it was another loss. I'm still looking for the first win of the season. We were down 3-0, managed to tie it at 3, and then we got the fifth end, and we were sitting 2, and on his very, very, very last shot, the skip from the other team made an excellent shot to score 1, and then that swung the momentum, and we weren't able to to recover, unfortunately. So we came up with another loss. My Tuesday night team has not been playing with the full team, though. However, our skip has been away in Reno, Nevada for the wedding of his daughter. So I guess that's an acceptable reason for him to not be there. So we had a lovely man come in and step in for us at the beginning of the season for the first two matches. So thank you, John, for that. And yeah, no wins yet, but always a good time seeing my colleagues and my friends from my curling team who I haven't seen all summer. Usually we get together a little bit over the course of the summer, but a lot of people were traveling in different places, and we weren't able to have our usual summer dinner this year. But I am happy to see them, and I'm looking forward to a good season ahead. Last year we had a bit of a struggle at the beginning of the season, but we ended the season really well. I think from December till the end of the year, until we lost our match in the playoffs, we hadn't lost a single match. We just went on a tear for some reason, which is a little unusual for us. But hey, let's see if we can build on that. Uh, We're supposed to be getting better the more we play. And I've got a match again this morning, my first match of the season in two-person stick with my partner Ray, who is just a great gentleman. Really glad we're a bit of a Mutt and Jeff team because I think he's 78 and I'm 52, so a bit of an age gap there, but we get along really well, and he's just a charming gentleman, and I like spending time with him. So, yeah, I have a new buddy, and we're an A this year, so starting the year in A. So let's see if we can keep that up. All right, A division, that is. When we're starting an A, I'm using shortcuts here. All right, kits and cubs. Um, let's take a look into the magic monitor, see who we have with us, who has been very, very patient with me this morning. So extra props to all the DAMFAM members who are here today. We have Kit Elaine and Kit Saucy, Kit Toronto Dan with us. Kit Uncover the News is here as well. Kit Saucy, the Sauce Boss, is with us, as is Kit Argosi Acres. Good morning to all of you. Kit Linda M, all of you, welcome to you. Asking, didn't the polls we saw yesterday have the Liberals winning in Newfoundland and Labrador? So they were all wrong. All of them were very, very wrong. But people on the ground were saying it could be a tight race. The polls weren't indicating it, but the feedback on the ground was. And sure enough, it was a tight race. And I can, as you know, if you read the show description or watched the news, the Progressive Conservatives did win an exact majority. It was 21 seats for majority, and they took 21 seats. So, as thin a majority as one can have, the speaker might probably come from another party at this point. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. But yeah, depends on the composition of the House. But yeah, it was a surprise. There was very little polling, and Main Street was really off, really off, because Main Street had the Liberals ahead by 20. So hey, it's but the Liberals had also been in power for 10 years, which is you're starting to get to around the best before date. So but yeah, based on what polling units were telling us and all that kind of stuff, this is definitely a surprise. But based on, again, ear on the ground, um, despite the polling numbers saying that, pretty much everybody was saying that it seemed like it was going to be a closer race than polls were indicating. And well, we got the complete opposite result. So there you go. It happens. We have Kit Grace with us as well. Kit Ill Today joining us. Kit Lori, yes, talking about the No Kings protest nationwide in the United States on the 18th. And there will be also some protests in Canada. Some people wrote to me and sent me some information saying, would you promote this as well? So yes, on October 18th in Canada, I know there's going to be a protest in the national capital area, and I suppose that there would be some in other spots. So yes, indeed, if that is your type of thing, protesting and marching. And if you want to do democracy, that's one way to get involved, kids and cubs. So, yes, no King's Day protests on the 18th. And that's coming up very soon, 3 days from now. Let's see, who else do we have? Kids and cubs in the chat. Uh, Kid Grace saying, you got your curling locker. Congrats. Indeed, I posted after the match. This year, they put our names on our lockers. So I said, you've reached the curling big time when they put your name on your locker. We have Kit Kat with us here in the chat as well. And we also have Kit Sharon. We have Kit, my dogs are goth. Hey, it's so nice to see you. Welcome this morning. Glad you're here. Who else do we have? Let's see. Is that everybody this morning? Taking a little look. Oh, nope. There's still more. Kit Bucky is with us, as is Kit Wishful. Good morning to both of you. Kit Swanky Frankie is also with us. So is Kit Hyper T 007. Bom dia a todos. Como foi seus Thanksgiving? O clima foi incrível, I'm going to guess. And that is good morning, everybody. How was your Thanksgiving? And I do not know what o clima foi incrível would possibly mean at all. So I'm going to get another Portuguese lesson today, I'm sure, because I'm sure Kid Hyper T will tell us. Who else do we have here? Let's see. Kid Jillian is also with us. There we go. Saying, I think Douglas missed me in the roll call. Nope, just hadn't gotten to you yet. I'm scrolling as I'm doing this at the same time. Kit Tabby G also in here. Oh my God, the gang's all here, and so are the Breens, and so is Kit Mohan. So good morning to you and to family. And now I've got everyone. Yes, indeed, you are so correct. So correct, Kit Sharon. The gang's all here. Hail, hail. All right. Well, the big story of the day, of course, there are actually a lot of stories going on in the news, but since our focus, our little fetish focus is Canadian politics, our big story of the day is the results of the election in Newfoundland or Labrador, or as some people prefer to say Labrador in that other place. Wink, I see you. I see you. In which, as we mentioned here, surprise result in a way, if you were looking at the polls, because Tony Wakeham's progressive conservatives took the victory. The lead was going back and forth over the course of the evening, and then at one point, the progressive conservatives took the lead and took the lead all the way to a majority, 21 seats, which is exactly what you need. The way that the votes broke down, if I am not, well, the seats broke down, if I am not mistaken, was 21 for progressive conservatives, I believe 15 for the Liberals, 2 for the NDP, and 2 independents, if I am remembering that correctly. But yes, and that's why I said earlier you have to look at the composition of the House, but because they have the 2 independent, not sure how either of them particularly lean. If one of them tends to lean a little more conservative, they just didn't want to run under the party banner, then the progressive conservatives could probably make one of their own speaker feeling pretty secure that other independent would vote with them. But you'd have to know about who are the independents and uh, what their political leanings are in order to make that assessment. And unfortunately, I do not have that expertise. But according to the Canadian press, voters in Newfoundland and Labrador showed they were in the mood for a big change on Tuesday by ousting the governing Liberals after 10 years in power and handing a slim majority win to the Progressive Conservatives. As the final ballots were counted at the conclusion of the autumn election campaign, Tony Wakeham's Progressive Conservatives, I guess you can say Tories if they're still Progressive Conservatives, edged into a small lead after a white-knuckle seesaw battle and then steadily pulled ahead of Premier John Hogan's Liberals. In his victory speech, Wakeham took aim at the pundits who had predicted another Liberal win. Quote, I've spent over 30 years of my life coaching basketball, and you learn that no stat is less important than the score at halftime, he said. Quote, "It was only a couple of months ago that a whole lot of people were looking at the halftime score and thinking that this election was over. Tonight we all know it because we feel it. There's nothing quite like a comeback." 3 hours after the polls closed, Progressive Conservatives had won 21 of the legislature's 40 ridings, a gain of 7 seats. The Liberals were elected in 15 ridings, a decline of 6 seats. The New Democrats, led by Jim Dinn, doubled their seat count to 2, and 2 well-known independents were re-elected. Newfoundland and Labrador election law says ridings with a margin of victory of 10 votes are subject to automatic recounts. Tuesday's results indicate the smallest margin was in Lewisport, Twillingate, where Tory candidate Mark Butt beat Liberals Derek Bennett by 18 votes. There might not be an automatic recall there, but not recall, automatic recount there. But that margin might be small enough that Bennett could file an appeal and ask for one if they and see if he could get one if he wanted to. But I have not heard anything about that yet. Um, but they might want to try that because if after a recount the seats would swing the other way, it would mean a minority government for the Progressive Conservatives. So, you know, if I were the Liberals, I would take a chance, see, just in case. But yeah, um, so far I haven't heard anything about challenges. The Tories won the popular vote with 44.37% of the votes cast, compared with 43.43% for the Liberals. So it was very close. It wasn't even a full 1% difference in the popular vote between the two major parties. Wakeham said he won over voters by consistently talking about healthcare, and he does have a background in that field. So he was probably came across as natural and authentic. Crime and pocketbook issues. Throughout the campaign, he repeatedly asked voters whether they were better off under the Liberals, who were seeking a fourth consecutive term in office. The Tory leader also criticized Hogan's decision to endorse a proposed multi-billion-dollar energy deal with Quebec, saying the draft agreement wasn't good enough. The former healthcare bureaucrat pledged to have the tentative agreement reviewed by an independent third party, pointing to lessons learned from the province's previous energy project failures. Quote, "I will demand a true independent review that will share its conclusions with the public," Wakeham told supporters on Tuesday. Quote, "I will use that review to fix the deal or demand a better one. Given the generational stakes, I will not sign any deal that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians do not approve of in a referendum." Um, One of the things with this move that is going to be a little tricky for Mr. Wakeham, if he does this, will be the amount of time he uses to do it. Um, because October 2026, so less than a year from now, there is a provincial election scheduled in Quebec. And right now, if we are looking at the polls at halftime, which, you know, we shouldn't necessarily do, but we are. It very much looks like the Parti Québécois is going to win that one. And I have an impression that it might be tougher for Wakeham to negotiate a better deal with a separatist um, government that will have as a mission, as a separatist government, to hold a referendum in the first mandate. Paul Saint Pierre Plamondon is already on the record firmly stating that that is the case. Now, perhaps once the election comes in the province, the threat of that will cause certain people to vote different ways and for the PQ to lose support. Usually, the PQ running on wanting to hold a referendum does not help them in elections. Recently, we have found things might have changed, but the recent pattern is that. So, and Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is rather gung ho and not afraid to use um, language that would uh, indicate that Quebec will always be somehow oppressed. He likes to frame things in that way. So I am fairly certain that since Hydro-Québec is a crown jewel in Quebec society and Quebec business, that the Parti Québécois uh, would probably be looking to not be to the Parti Québécois would probably be looking to get a better deal for Quebec than it is currently has, and probably might even be of the view that Legault had surrendered too much. I'm not sure if that's the position, but I can see an opening for that, and which would make Mr. Wakeham's job a lot more difficult. Um, so we'll see where that stands, but at present, Mr. Wakeham still has about a year to get all of that done. So if you can get the review, an independent review done in 3 to 6 months or 3 months, let's say, spend 3 months uh, renegotiating the little things that he needs there, then that could work because Francois Legault could be looking at this New Deal as a win and wanting to run on the New Deal. So he he does have, if he does it quickly, he has an advantage because Legault is desperate to try to find some way to save his fortunes, as evidenced by anyone who noticed that Quebec is now toying with the idea of passing its own constitution, a provincial constitution, and the CAQ in Quebec, rather than consult with other parties and consult with the Québécois on what that constitutional would look like, basically wrote one up and said, "Here, this is what we think it will be." Uh, it's not unusual for the CAQ, a party that has built a lot of its reputation on sort of culture wars and particularly with regard to matters of ethnoculture when it comes to Quebec. You know, the Bill 21 and their attack on English language universities, all these types of things that they do to keep on showing that, Quebec as a nation, and they want to value nationhood and the specificity of Quebec and all that type of stuff. And, maybe throw a couple of punches in the teeth of anglophones and things like that in order to boost itself. Um, the sudden revelation that, hey, let's have a Quebec constitution reeks of desperation from the CAQ. This type of ethnocultural play has worked for us before when we got our majorities. Let's try that again now that we're in the tank. But it's just, like I said, it reeks of desperation at the moment, and the fact that they didn't provide any consultation pretty much cements the fact. It it makes sure that that stench of desperation is set into the fabric of what it is that they are trying to do. So no matter how many times they try to wash it, no matter how many bounce sheets they throw in the dryer, or how much scented fabric softener that they use, you can still smell that stench. So if Wakeham does it quickly, he has an advantage because he has a government that is on the ropes, desperate for relevance and desperate for some wins, who would like to point to it. If he makes it a more drawn out process, he could have some troubles because the next government in the province of Quebec may not be as eager as the current one to secure a deal. But we'll see what happens with that one. But that will definitely be a big. We said it was probably going to be one of the biggest files on this election, and it turns out that it was, and it was a winning one for the Conservatives this time around. Back to the article. As well, one of Wakeham's other priorities will be dealing with the province's ballooning debt, which is expected to reach almost $20 billion next year. That's the largest per capita provincial debt in the country. The Tory win reflects a trend that started in the spring when the federal Conservatives, led by Pierre Poilievre, won 3 rural seats in Newfoundland, a gain of 2 seats despite the federal Liberals' election win under Prime Minister Mark Carney. On Tuesday, the provincial Progressive Conservatives picked up seats in rural Newfoundland and across Labrador. And across Labrador does not surprise me because, again, Mr. Wakeham seemed to have his finger on the pulse on what was going on in Labrador, particularly when it comes to health. As for the Liberals, their campaign was partially hobbled by the loss of several cabinet ministers who quit before the election race began, including Siobhan Cody, John Hagee, Jerry Byrne, Andrew Parsons, and Tom Osborne. When you lose that many incumbents, it kind of makes it hard to retain government. Hogan, a 47-year-old lawyer, has said the proposed energy deal with Quebec was, quote, the election issue. He told voters that the memorandum of understanding between Hydro-Quebec and Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro could inject $225 billion into the provincial treasury over 50 years, providing economic salvation for the financially fragile province. The tentative agreement would see Hydro-Québec pay much more for power from the Churchill Falls plant in Labrador, which the Quebec government helped build in the late 1960s. The deal is also expected to lead to new hydroelectric projects along the Churchill River. It will also terminate the existing Churchill Falls contract 16 years earlier than expected, a change that recognizes the unfairness of Hydro-Québec buying the majority of the electricity at rock-bottom prices for decades. In a speech to his supporters in St. John's, Hogan urged Wakeham to, quote, stay the course with Churchill Falls. Quote, it is the best opportunity to secure our province's future, Hogan said. So listen to the experts because there's no better deal, but there is a better future for our province. Meanwhile, the new Democratic Party was not expected to be a contender in the election, having never held more than 5 seats in the legislature. The fact is, the fact is, guess what? It's going to be the NDP putting forward the ideas that will benefit all people of this province. Din, a 65-year-old former teacher, told his supporters in St. John's on Tuesday night, where he was re-elected. So there you go. That's what we have from CTV. And let's see if there happens to be anything different from CBC. And there it says there's some analysis here that is being provided by Rab Antle, and says here that after big win, big challenges await Premier designate Tony Wakeham. For the Progressive Conservatives, the 2025 election campaign was about the cost of living, healthcare, and crime, but mostly it was about change. Voters delivered that change Tuesday in a shock majority victory, elevating Tony Wakeham to the province's top political job, soon to be sworn in as the 16th Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador. Quote, an election delivers a mandate, but it does not by itself deliver change, Wakeham said in his victory speech delivered late Tuesday night in Stephenville. Change is up to all of us, and it is my promise to you that as Premier, I will give this everything I've got to deliver the better healthcare, lower taxes, and safer communities that you all deserve. Let's build a better, brighter future for all of us. By contrast, Liberal leader John Hogan laser-focused his campaign on one issue, and that turned out to be a bad political choice. The Churchill Falls MOU wasn't just a plank in the Liberal platform, it was the foundation, frame, walls, floors, joists, roofs, and pretty much everything in between. Now the entire deal is in danger of being pulled apart. The incoming Premier will face a suite of immediate decisions. Certainly, the biggest is the fate of that massive hydroelectric deal signed by former Liberal Premier Andrew Furey less than a year ago. Wakeham has pledged not to proceed with any deal on the Churchill River unless voters give it the green light in a referendum. Quote, we will develop Churchill Falls, we will develop Gull Island, we will electrify Labrador, we will develop our resources with our workers for the benefits of our communities, Wakeham said in his victory speech. He also delivered that exact line word for word in the debate. Quote, but the era of rubber stamp government is over. When it comes to our province's resources, we will be the ones calling the shots. The Premier designate said he will, quote, demand a true independent review that will share its conclusions with the public. Wakeham said he will use the review to fix this deal or demand a better one. Meanwhile, the pending hydro deal Wakeham inherits is facing crushing deadline pressure. Quebec Premier François Legault's popularity has cratered. Legault must go to the polls within a year, and his tenuous political future puts the deal in doubt. And there are other challenges. The province's fiscal situation has deteriorated since the spring budget, with the projected deficit nearly doubling to a level not seen since the first year of the pandemic. The Wakeham Tories have accused the Liberals of hiding even more bad news with their accounting treatment of a tobacco lawsuit windfall settlement. The Tory platform pledged to ensure that Newfoundland and Labrador gets its fair share of work on the Baie du Nord project, including topside work that helped earn an endorsement from Trades Newfoundland and Labrador. The incoming Premier will have to thread the needle of maximizing local benefits and jobs on the project after the proponent hit pause 2 years ago due to ballooning construction costs. And there were hundreds of millions in PC campaign promises, everything from building new ferries to sweeping tax relief to buying 4 new MRI machines. And the building new ferries portion was also part of the debate near the end. And it seems that so far the Wakeham is promising not only that would they buy new ferries, but that they would build them in Newfoundland and Labrador and start the industry. So if they have to buy new ferries, it might be if they have to build the whole industry to build them first, it might be a while before these new ferries are actually in the water. The Tory campaign tailored its messaging to a receptive audience, but the Wakeham team also benefited from a perfectly aligned series of political dominoes falling in place one by one. A cascading series of vote splits mostly went their way to eke out relatively narrow wins and targeted pickups across rural Newfoundland and Labrador, in defiance of public opinion polls. They held off high profile Liberal challengers to PC incumbents, especially in the metro suburbs, while picking off seats vacated by departed Liberal cabinet ministers. The Tories captured 40% more seats than the Liberals while winning the popular vote by a margin of 1 percentage point. That combination of numbers proved to be enough to push Tony Wakeham to the Premier's office. And that is Rob Antle, who's a producer with CBC's Atlantic Investigative Unit based in St. John's, who gave us that coverage. So there we go. Newfoundland and Labrador elections. And one more place to go if we can, because we like to go local. So let's look at what NTV has for us here. And oh, not much, just a headline here, and that's it. Headline and just a very quick blurb. No in-depth article at the moment here. So hopefully there will be more. We'll go back and look at NTV over the next couple of days to see how things are progressing with the new government taking the reins and finding its feet. So that's what we have here. Um, we have a little bit of, and this Kits and Cubs, I'm going to say is going to be a little rough because at the time that I got back last night, I did not have the time or the wasn't awakened enough to be able to go through the victory and concession speeches. So or interviews. So I have a few moments from them here for you this morning that we will go through. But I will readily admit that for you as well as for me, this will be new because I haven't had the chance to hear them and watch them. So I will be watching them in real time with you. And therefore, also any stops and starts or edits on mine are not pre-planned as they usually are when I present you some clips. But, Kits and Cubs, we start with Mr. Jim Din from the NDP, who did secure a seat and did manage to have another person join him, as mentioned, doubling his caucus. All right, so let's hope that this is at the right spot here. Using the wonderful thing about closed captions is that you can see what they're saying with the sound off. Ah, as I'm setting this up. All right, so this should be somewhere close to the start of the interview. You might the announcer say a couple of words before leading into it, but everything is set up. So let's take a look at a conversation with Jim Din, who I assume would be happy given that not only did he win a seat, but ensures that he has a little bit of company.
Din right now. He's standing by live. Mr. Din, congratulations on your win tonight as well. Sheila O'Leary projected to win in her seat of St. John's East Kitty Vitty. So it looks like you're heading back to the House of Assembly with 2 seats. How are you feeling about the win?
It's bittersweet. Glad I won my seat. I'm glad that we took back St. John's East Kitty Vitty, a seat I think that rightfully belonged to us, and but very disappointed that we didn't maintain Labrador West. Shazia Razi was an incredible candidate and one who would have done the district proud.
We're seeing a real big flip tonight in this government. I'd love to know what you make of this change. The PCs have been pushing for change, and change has been delivered. We're still waiting to see whether it's going to be a majority or minority government for the PCs. But what do you make of what happened tonight?
I think there was certainly a groundswell for change. We did offer that change through our platform very clearly. We had 40 candidates in total, so there was an opportunity for anyone who wanted to vote NDP in all districts to vote. But certainly we'll see what change that they're proposing. If it comes down to needing the NLNDP support, then we're going to be looking. I guess we're going to be looking at pushing the issues that are important to us. And if nothing else, Carolyn, the people in both parties and across the province know exactly where we stand on what we want to see change. It's in our platform. It's been there. We've been transparent about it all along. So we'll go from there. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting few years for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So change definitely a factor in this election. But what about some of the other factors that people have been talking about here? The Churchill Falls MOU, the Liberals have been pushing for this to be, the centerpiece for their campaign. How much of this do you think has to do with the Liberals' position on the Churchill Falls MOU?
I'll start with this. If it were not for the NDP and the independents, there wouldn't be any independent oversight panel. That's the first thing. So we've been pushing for transparency on this deal. We've also been making sure that we want to take politics out of it, which both the PCs and the Liberals have done their best to drag into this partisan politics. Whatever this deal is, it's going to have to be a good deal for the people of the province, and Labrador West in particular, because they're the ones that are going to bear the brunt if it doesn't proceed. But it's going to be about making sure it makes good economic sense, that it gets the best deal for the resources, that people locally are going to benefit from this project. So that's something we're still committed to, and we're going to keep fighting for that, and we're going to make sure that whatever the conversation is, it's going to be about the economic return and benefit to the people of the province, to the workers, and to the communities who depend on them.
Okay, well, you'll be returning to a very different House of Assembly this year. NDP leader Jim Dinn,
Yep.
Congratulations once again. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
All right. So that was Jim Dinn, leader of the New Democrats, giving his post-election result interview. I am on the website of Elections Newfoundland and Labrador here, trying to find out who won which seats where. And unfortunately, I'm not exactly sure how to do this, because anytime I click on something that says click on the seat, it sends me back into some type of loop and does not actually provide any results, which is really interesting, because I was also trying to look at what voter turnout was, and there's nothing. There's nothing at all whatsoever. So I don't know where you find the results for each individual riding and district on this website. It is not intuitive in any way, shape, or form, and the information is very difficult to find, unfortunately, which is sad, actually, because it you would think that would be very easy when you go to the Elections Canada website. It's everything is right there and very easy to find. But Newfoundland and Labrador's election website, a little more cryptic, a little more a bit of a challenge to find out what's going on here. So let's see what we have here. In St. John's East Kitty Viddy, as mentioned during that interview, Sheila O'Leary for the NDP took that seat, defeating John Whalen of the Liberals and Alex Edwards Sipovsky of the Progressive Conservatives there. And she had about a 428 vote margin in winning that. In Lake Melville, Keith Russell for the PCs won that seat over Sean McLean from the Liberals and Jamie Ruby of the NDP. And in Topsail, I remembered, Paradise, Paul Dinn, I'm not sure if there's any relation to Jim Dinn because they have the same last name, won that one by only 102 votes over Dan Bobbitt of the Liberals and Tyler Bourne of the NDP. In Lewisport Twillingate, Mark Butt of the PCs took that seat over Derek Bennett of the Liberals. That's the one that was the lead was only 18 points, and Derek Bennett was the incumbent in that seat, which makes me wonder if Mr. Bennett will take the chance of filing some type of appeal to see whether or not that he can get a recount. In Fogo Island, Cape Friels, Jim McKenna of the Progressive Conservatives took that seat over Dale Lewis, Liberal, and Gary Leet, who was running as an independent, finished third in that one. And those are some of the results in certain particular districts that I have for you here, Kits and Cubs. And hopefully, as I go through the show and looking for the next speech that I'm going to bring to you, that we can get more results here. And there we go. This will be actually very, very helpful at the moment because I will have them in alphabetical order. In St. Barbe, Lanceau Meadows, Andrea Barber of the Progressive Conservatives defeated Krista Lynn Howell, who was the incumbent for the Liberals in that one by about 500 votes. Beth Ryan of the NDP finished third in that one. In Baie Verte, Green Bay, Lynn Paddock of the PCs, the incumbent there, got reelected in her riding over Owen Burt of the Liberals and Sarah Hillier of the NDP. In Bonavista, as Craig Pardee of the PCs, incumbent there, returned to his seat over Heather Matthews and David Elks. I am going to guess here. In Bourgeot, I'm going to pronounce this wrong because it's the French in me. I want to say La Poile, and it's probably La Poile or something. Bourgeot La Poile. Michael King of the Liberals was elected in that seat, in which there was no incumbent running. In Buren Grand Bank, Paul Pike, the incumbent, was returned to his seat with only a 50-vote lead over Jamie Archibald Ingram of the PCs. So that was a Liberal seat. In Cape St. Francis, Jody Wall of the PCs, the incumbent, was returned in that seat over Cara Connors, fantastic last name, of the Liberals in there. And Carboneer Trinity Beta Verde, Riley Balsam of the Progressive Conservatives defeated Danielle Doyle there by 400 and something vote, maybe a little less, fewer than 400 votes. In Cartwright Lanceau Claire, Lisa Dempster of the Liberals took that district over Nina Rumbold Pye of the Progressive Conservatives. In Conception Bay East, Bell Island, Fred Hutton of the Liberals, the incumbent, was returned to the legislature with a victory over Tina Neri of the PCs and Henry House of the NDP. In Conception Bay South, Barry Pettin defeated Ken McDonald from the PC. And that's a PC seat, an incumbent returning there. In Corner Brook, Jim Parsons, probably not the same Jim Parsons from the Big Bang Theory, I would guess, won his seat there. There was no incumbents, so that there'll be a new elected representative there in Corner Brook. In Exploits, Pleeman Forsey, PC candidate incumbent, was returned to their seat. In Fairyland, Loyola O'Driscoll, also a PC incumbent, was returned to their seat. As we mentioned, Fogo Island, Cape Friels, Jim McKenna, an incumbent, returned to his seat, also for the PCs. And Fortune Bay, Cap Lahoon, Elvis Lovelace from the Liberals, incumbent, returned to their seat. In Gander, Newfoundland, Liberal Bettina Ford from the Liberals becomes the new representative in that seat. There were no incumbents running there. In Grand Falls, Windsor, Buchans, Chris Tibbs from the PCs actually took that one. Also an incumbent, securing his seat there, or getting reelected in his seat. In terms of share of the vote, as we mentioned earlier, PC's 44.3, Liberals 43.5, and data for the NDP was 8.3%, and Independents was 3.9% share of the vote in the election. And hopefully I will be able to find some overall voter turnout information somewhere along the way. In Harbour Grace Port de Grave, Pam Parsons of the Liberals, the incumbent, was returned to their seat. In Harbour, Maine, Helen Conway Ottenheimer from the PCs, an incumbent, returned to their seat. Humber Bay of Islands, Eddie Joyce, one of the two independents, winning a seat there and very handily winning at 3,433 votes. And the second place finisher from the Liberals, Megan Parsons, picked up 735. So a very convincing win there for Eddie Joyce. In Humber Gross Mourne, Mike Goosney of the PCs becomes the new representative for that seat, as no incumbent was running. Labrador West, same thing, no incumbent running. Joseph Power from the PCs took that seat over Todd Seward of the Liberals. In Lake Melville, as we mentioned earlier, Keith Russell from the PCs took that seat, no incumbent running there. So that was that's a new elected representative there. In Lewisport Twillingate, as we mentioned, Mark Butt 18 votes ahead of Derek Bennett, who was the incumbent in that one, so new representative there. And Mount Pearl North, Lucy Stoyles of the Liberals, the incumbent, returning to her seat there. In Mount Pearl Southlands, Paul Lane, the other independent, picked up their seat. Also another convincing win, almost double the vote, if not pretty close to double the vote of Sarah Furlong of the Liberals, who finished second there. In Mount Seo, I'm going to guess that's pronounced, Sarah Studley, an incumbent for the Liberals, secured that seat. In Placentia St. Mary's, Sherry Gambin Walsh of the Liberals, also an incumbent, retained her seat. Placentia West Bellevue, Jeff Dwyer of the PCs, incumbent, being returned to his seat by fewer than 100 votes there. St. Barb Lasso Meadows, Andrea Barber defeated incumbent Kristen Lynn Howell, so that was a gain for the PCs over the Liberals. St. George's Humber, Hal Cormier of the PCs finished ahead of Mark Lambswood of the Liberals, and yes, and that is also a new representative, no incumbents running there in that one. And I believe that will be all the seats, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I will definitely take another check. But now we are at the point where we see John Hogan coming up to deliver his concession speech. So let's take a moment to see what it is that he had to say on the.
Coming in a disappointing night for the Liberals. Coming in with his family there. Let's have a little listen, see what John Hogan has to say about this Liberal loss tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Just a few minutes ago, before I came down here, I called the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, Mr. Wakeham, and offered my congratulations on his party's victory in tonight's provincial election. The people of Newfoundland and Labrador have spoken, and we will always respect their choice. And in the coming days, I'll meet with the Lieutenant Governor and Mr. Wakeham to ensure a smooth government transition. Now, we all know that this is not the outcome we'd hoped for. And all of you here tonight, our entire team, our amazing candidates, our awesome volunteers, I know you've poured your hearts out night and day throughout this entire campaign. And we've delivered a message of optimism and hope for our province and for our future. And I am tremendously proud of the campaign that we ran. We kept our message positive. We focused on the challenges we face. We focused on the opportunities ahead. We kept our heads high, and I stand by our decision to run that positive campaign. And democracy is not just about tonight. It's a living, breathing process. And we're lucky to live in a place where the free will of the people is expressed and respected. The challenges we face as a province are real, and they'll require everyone across party lines and throughout our province to work together. So to the incoming government, I and we wish you success, because your success is Newfoundland and Labrador's success. The Liberal Party will always be there for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, and we will support everybody, whatever party you are, when progress and good progress is made. And on an important note, I urge you to stay the course on Churchill Falls. It is the best opportunity to secure our province's future. So listen to the experts, because there is no better deal, but there is a better future for our province. And to our incredible slate of candidates who put your names forward, you knocked on doors, rain and shine, you fought for your districts and your communities, and you did it with heart and integrity and a deep love for your province. And I want to congratulate all our candidates who were elected and who will represent their districts as MHAs. To our volunteers, our organizers, and our supporters, thank you for your tireless efforts, for believing in us and the values that the Liberal Party stands for giving your time and your energy. And your dedication is the only way any of this will be possible. And to the young people in the room or watching at home, some of you may have voted for the very first time. And let me say this, that politics matters, and your voice will always matter. Don't ever be discouraged from engaging and leading and from imagining what this province can be. And to my family, Jill and Maggie and Jack, and Mom and Dad, and my two sisters. You've supported me and encouraged me and put up with late nights and long nights on the road. It's been an amazing and a crazy and fun journey, and I can't thank you enough. And finally, to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, serving as your premier has been the honor of my life. And from everyone from Labrador West to Port Saunders, Burin to Bonavista, I've had the opportunity and the privilege to meet so many of you and see the best of our province. We're strong, we're proud, and we're resilient. And when we set our minds to something, there's nothing this province can't achieve. So tonight we pause and reflect, but tomorrow we work to build the stronger, prosperous Newfoundland and Labrador that we all deserve. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Newfoundland and Labrador, and good night.
Okay, that I have to say is class. Total and complete class from the leader of the Liberal Party, who did win his seat last night in the election as well. And a really beautiful moment when he's speaking about his family. I melted a little bit. I almost stopped it in the middle just to say, "Aw," but definitely a nice moment there. But yeah, that's class. That's how you do. That's how you step aside in this type of situation. And yeah, um, I have no notes, no comments for that one. John Hogan is in Windsor Lake. One didn't say anything about not remaining in the seat or stepping down. So I'm not sure whether or not he intends to remain the representative for the full term, or whether or not he'll stay for a while and we'll be moving on to other things. But yes, he was elected in Windsor Lake. In Waterford Valley, Jamie Korab of the Liberals won that seat over David Tomlin of the Progressive Conservatives. In Virginia Waters Pleasantville, Bernard Davis of the Liberals kept that seat over Raj Sharan of the NDP, one of the few seats where the NDP finished second in the election. In Torgut Mountains, Lela Evans of the PCs won that one very handily over Tony Powell of the Liberals and MK Morris of the NDP. Topsail Paradise, I mentioned before, Paul Dinn of the PCs taking that one over Dan Bobbitt of the Liberals and Tyler Bourne of the NDP. In Terra Nova, incumbent Lloyd Parrott secured their seat over Greg French of the Liberals and Melanie Adams of the NDP. In Stephenville, Port-au-Port, Tony Wakeham, that's the leader of the Progressive Conservatives, secured his seat. So all three party leaders secured their seats over Jeff Young of the Liberals and Susan Jarvis of the NDP. In St. John's West, Keith White of the Liberal Party took that seat over Christina Ennis of the PCs and Marius Normore of the NDP. In St. John's East, Kitty Vitty, as we showed you before, Sheila O'Leary of the NDP, taking that one over John Wellen of the Liberals and Alex Edwards Sipovsky of the PCs. And St. John's Centre, as we mentioned, Jim Dinn of the NDP, winning that one over Gemma Hickey of the Liberals and Ben Duggan. And that would be all 40 districts. And other kits have also been looking for the voter turnout results, and nobody can seem to find them. And neither can I still after all of that looking. So have no data on that. We will keep looking. Hopefully we will find it and hopefully be able to bring it to you during the show today or tomorrow, a couple of other days, because voter turnout is always something that we like to look at and see how things are going. All right, kits and cubs, the last thing that we have for you, of course, will be the winner, the victory speech, of course. So let's see what happens here. And for people who are listening on audio, where the thing starts to be starting is where, I think I'm going to try and move it up a little bit because it was just where Mr. Wakeham coming through the door. So for all of you who will be listening, so you don't have to listen to the 2 or 3 minutes of applause before he gets to the microphone. Let's just move that a little forward there. But great applause, clearly, for that type of victory from everyone who had been gathered there. And let's see what Mr. Wake has to say.
All these seats in play, all these incumbents who left for the Liberals, they had to win most or all of them, and tonight it's mission accomplished, right?
Absolutely. Let's have a listen in from your designate, Tony Wakeham, as he speaks to the room and to the people of the province.
Wow, thank you. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. First of all, let me say thank you very much to Shane and Jessica. Thank you very much to everybody here tonight. Thank you to our entire team, our candidates, and our volunteers. And our volunteers province-wide. You know, I've spent over 30 years of my life coaching basketball. And in basketball, you learn that no stat is less important than to score at halftime. Well, it was only a couple of months ago, a whole lot of people were looking at the halftime score and thinking this election was over. Pollsters and pundits were saying it was going to be another Liberal majority. But we knew, all of us, we knew in our PC team knew that the game was not over. We know that a lot of people in Newfoundland and Labrador were ready for a change if they heard a real serious plan for it from a team that listened, learned, and acted on their priorities. We kept working hard and we kept working together. We didn't quit. We kept believing in each other because we knew it wasn't over until that final buzzer and all the votes are counted. And tonight, we all know it because we all feel it. There is nothing quite like a comeback. There are so many people I want to thank here tonight, and so many people I am going to be reaching out to in the days ahead. But it has to start right here at home with my family, to my wife Patricia, and my kids Stephanie and Christopher and their families. I love you. My daughter just FaceTimed from England, where I think it's around 2:30 in the morning over there. So anyway, Steph, keep watching. Politics can be hard on families, and I am so grateful for every sacrifice that you have made. It is the honor of my life to be elected Premier of this great province of ours. And now, to the wonderful people of Stephenville, Port-au-Port, thank you for entrusting me as your MHA for a third time. This is my home, just as it is yours. And my pledge to you today is the same as it was the first day I was elected. I will always make sure that our community will have its voice heard. And I know I didn't get here alone. To Kip Kaus and our local campaign team, thanks for running an outstanding local campaign in this district. I know it was a little bit harder this time, as my job as party leader meant I could not spend as much time in this community. And to my incredible expert central campaign team, led by Steve Outhouse, and our campaign co-chairs, Jessica Babb and Shane Skinner, I am so grateful. One more basketball coaching lesson. You can't score unless someone passes you the ball. It is true, you might sometimes score on your opponent's mistakes as well, but I'll let others comment on that. Instead, I want to talk about our campaign, where every day as leader, I was set up perfectly to score. Every day, Steve and our campaign team were at their best, and they allowed me to be at my best. You don't always see it in front of the cameras, but behind every campaign, there are a team of people who put their lives on hold because they believe in what we are doing, and I will always be grateful for that. And this brings me to our team of PC candidates from every corner of Newfoundland and Labrador. Thank you for putting your name on a ballot. Thank you for putting your faith in me. As I said, politics is a team sport. No leader can win it on their own. And everywhere I've traveled in our province, I found dedicated, hard-working candidates representing the best of our party to our province. There is something else I found everywhere I went. Volunteers on the phones or on the doorsteps, or even just talking to their family, co-workers, and friends, helping spread our message that we can build a bigger, brighter future for all of us. This victory belongs to all of you too. I know tonight that while many of our local candidates are celebrating a victory tonight, some of you are disappointed. I hope you, your family, and your supporters can hold your head high, because in putting your name on a ballot and giving your neighbors a real choice, you help make our province a better place. In fact, I want to congratulate every candidate from every party for putting their name forward in this election. This was a consequential vote, and you helped give your community a real choice. And this includes John Hogan and Jim Dinn, along with Eddie Joyce and Paul Lane. Thank you for giving voters a choice. I have spoken to Mr. Hogan and Mr. Dinn to congratulate them. This was a spirited campaign, but I think it was also a respectful campaign. In a time when democracy is under a lot of strain elsewhere, it was Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who once again showed the world how it's done. Finally, I want to thank every voter who put their faith in us and put their faith in me when they marked an X next to their local PC candidate. Whether longtime voters or new voters, true blue Tories or somebody taking a chance and voting PC for the first time, young and old in the city, around the bay, men, women, newcomers, old-timers, whatever your reason for voting PC, I am so grateful for it. We worked hard to earn your support, and we will work harder to keep it. And if you didn't vote PC, that's okay too, because we're also going to work hard for you. Because it doesn't matter to me if you are blue or red or orange. At the end of the day, all of us are Newfoundlanders and Labradorians first. Earlier this evening, somebody asked me what my top priority would be if we won this election. My answer should surprise nobody, because we have been talking about this for every single day of this campaign. I answered no surprises. I am going to do everything I can to build a better, brighter future for all of us. I want to build a future that includes better health care for all of us. This means bringing more nurses and nurse practitioners to rural and underserviced communities. This means investing in 4 new MRI machines to the communities who need them most. And this means expanding seats in our med school and nursing programs, along with new incentives to ensure our medical graduates want to stay home or return home. I want to build a future that includes lower taxes for all of us. That means increasing the basic personal exemption to $15,000, meaning nobody pays a cent of provincial tax on the first $15,000 you earn. The biggest exemption in Atlantic Canada. It also means permanently reducing the gas tax and paying back the tuition of graduates who choose to stay and work in Newfoundland and Labrador. Increasing support for our seniors and increasing the number of families who can receive real supports through the Newfoundland and Labrador Child Tax Credit. I want to build a future that includes safer communities for all of us. This means hiring 46 new police officers for the RCMP and RNC, investing in more Crown attorneys, leading the national effort to toughen bail rules, and invest in expanded addiction recovery centers and mobile mental health units. We're going to do this while leading a pro-jobs government that insists that work from Bay to North, ferry construction, or national defense spending is done right here, and ensure that all big public projects include benefits agreements that guaranteed work for local tradespeople and apprentices. And we will do more, and we will build more, while ensuring that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are always the beneficiaries of our resources. We will develop Churchill Falls. We will develop Gull Island. We will electrify Labrador. We will develop our resources with our workers for the benefits of our communities. But the era of a rubber stamp government is over. When it comes to our province's resources, we will be the ones calling the shots. I will demand a true independent review that will share its conclusions with the public. I will use that review to fix this deal or demand a better one. And given the generational stakes, I will not sign any deal that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians do not approve in a referendum. My friends, an election delivers a mandate, but it does not by itself deliver change. Change is up to all of us. And it is my promise to you that as Premier, I will give this everything I've got to deliver the better health care, lower taxes, and safer communities that you all deserve. Tonight is a special night for me and my team. Let's celebrate, but tomorrow we get back to work. Let's build a better, brighter future for all of us. Yeah. Thank you.
And there you have it, Kits and Cubs, the victory speech from Tony Wakeham, leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Newfoundland and Labrador. So sorry here for the window, not working the way I intended it to. There we go. So yes, indeed. As people have been noticing here, Kit Saucy said this guy's an old school PC. Kit Sharon said here, this guy doesn't seem that bad. This was the thing that I was mentioning yesterday when I was watching the debate. He strikes me more as being someone that's more in the traditional PC vein than this newer version of conservatives that are really reform regressives, that type of stuff, or for people who actually are genuine conservatives, who don't recognize this new form of conservatism or whatever it is that's calling themselves conservatism, just taking the label, but is not. This guy does seem to be a little bit more of an actual traditional progressive conservative in there. So hopefully this won't be too much of a terrible situation, and hopefully he will not necessarily fall in line with the Piapoliev school here. But because as we always have to be vigilant, and as Kit PNC Bio mentions here, I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Is he just old school PC? That's fine. They're pretty inoffensive most of the time. But if he's not, if there's more, then I guess we will find out. But at first blush, and based on everything I saw in the debate and even content of the speech, he seems to be more in line with that school. Shows respect to his opponents rather than takes every opportunity to bash them. Doesn't, like I said, not too many extremes whatsoever in his positions. Didn't have anything terrible to say about rainbow people or about immigrants. So he doesn't seem to be playing those games, and doesn't seem to be appealing to that faction. And the reason for which I mention this is because, of course, with this victory, there are now 7 provinces that are governed by conservative-minded parties. And as you know, to change the constitution, 7 provinces with at least 50% of the population, and since Ontario and Quebec are 2 of those provinces that are currently governed by conservative parties, conservative-minded parties, we would be in a situation that if Pierre Poilievre was prime minister right now, the conservative movement could probably unilaterally change the constitution. And that's something we definitely cannot allow to happen. So hopefully in October 2026, the CAQ will indeed lose in Quebec so that we can go back to 6 provinces that are governed in that way. Um, and yeah, but it's the success of the conservative movement, at least provincially, is somewhat concerning. And of course, with this loss, there is only one province in all of Canada that is being governed by a liberal um, leader, and that's Nova Scotia. No, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick with Susan Holt. Yukon technically still being led by the Yukon Liberal Party, but they go into an election on November 3rd, and it could be very close between the Liberals and the Yukon Party, so that one could also flip. But the Liberal brand, other than federally at the moment, seems to be particularly weak throughout the Canadian provinces, uh, sadly, for people who tend to vote liberal. But we'll see eventually if there's a change in that. Um, right now, there will be no change in Nova Scotia or in Ontario anytime soon because both those leaders had snap elections early in order to secure another term. There's some talk in British Columbia that David Eby might be looking to do that as well to take advantage of some weakness uh, and some disarray on the Conservative side. There's talk that Danielle Smith in Alberta might want to go early as well to secure herself another term before a lot of those scandals really start to hit the fan. Saskatchewan just had one, so no likelihood of any change there. And yeah, right now, David Eby, Bob Canoe, Susan Holt are the three that are trying to advance some kind of progressive values somewhere uh, provincially in this country. So it's there's a tough battle going on between the political factions and the conservatives. Uh, Unfortunately, for those of us who are on the other side of the spectrum, keep on making little gains and increasing gains here, there, and everywhere. And it definitely looks bleak for people who are more progressive minded as to what the future may hold if this current trend continues. All right. So that is pretty much all we have here from Newfoundland and Labrador. And if there is more over the next few days, we will definitely bring that to you. And indeed, we will still be looking for the voter turnout results and hopefully be able to bring that to you as well. But we'll also get a sense of the first few days of this new government when the opportunity comes and when we start getting some news. And we will definitely bring that to you, trying to be, of course, because we are Ontario based when we're doing the show, just trying to give a little bit more of a national perspective. So hopefully, while we did not have extensive coverage of the election in Newfoundland and Labrador, hopefully the attention we were able to give it was useful to people who are there and who might be watching the show. And as we grow, hopefully we will be better resourced and have better means to give you even better coverage in the years to come of elections in provinces that are further away from where we physically are. All right, kids and cubs, a couple of other things to chat about today. And one of them, because we hadn't checked in on this for a while, but the Canada Post strike, which has been halted, I guess one could say, for now. Uh, 18 hours ago, according to CTV News, Ileana Lev says, with the Thanksgiving long weekend over, Canadians can expect to see some mail moving in their mailboxes again, but not on a regular schedule. That's because the union representing Canada Post workers has shifted its strike action to rotating stoppages, which started on Saturday. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers, which represents 55,000 workers, says the move is aimed at minimizing disruptions as negotiations with Canada Post continue. The National Post Service says it's encouraging news, but Canadians should still expect uncertainties, delays, and backlog. As of Tuesday, CUP W has been holding rotating strikes in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, Fort St. John, British Columbia, and St. Anthony, Newfoundland and Labrador, which started on Saturday, October 11th. Meanwhile, the rotating strike activity has ended in Timmins, Ontario. Mail and parcels will not be delivered or picked up in locations where there are rotating strikes. Once the strike is over and operations resume in a given location, the delivery of mail and parcels will begin again as quickly as possible, the union said. Jim Gallant, the Canadian Union of Postal Workers negotiator, told CTV News Channel on Sunday that the strike hasn't ended, it's just changed. Quote, "It makes it so the country can get to see what the strike touches, what the cuts in service touch," he said. Gallant called Canada Post's latest offer a, quote, "twin brother or sister to their offer in May," which 70% of workers at the time rejected, and with very small changes that are poison pills to the workers. Quote, "Now they're going to close off offices and cut 10,000 jobs," he said. "We need a stop to this. This is a service Canadians need. The big communities help the small communities, and the small communities will be left with no service if we don't fight this." Letter courier with Canada Post Lorraine Muller told CTV News Channel on Saturday that employees will continue to go into work as if everything is normal, but that they don't know which local will go on strike from one day to the next. Quote, "For us, it will be a spur of the moment thing," she said. She said there's been, quote, "unsolid ground for the last 2 years for postal workers because they haven't had any security of knowing what's happening, on top of big and small changes. These include having a small depot getting absorbed by a bigger one, to being told not to personalize anything at work. Quote, "It makes you feel like you don't have a human connection to your workplace or to your colleagues," she said. "The new system is kind of designed that way." In a news release, Canada Post welcomed back its employees, but said rotating strikes challenged the company's ability to provide reliable service. All service guarantees will be suspended as a result. The countrywide strike started on September 25th, hours after the government announced changes to the postal service, including an end to door-to-door mail delivery for nearly all Canadian households within the next decade. And let me see what they had here. Uh, That's really weird that would happen. Um, okay, that was something just started automatically, which was really weird. Um, According to Alison Bamford, small businesses react to rotating postal strike announced by a union. So that was a couple of days ago here. As Canada Post workers began rotating in and out of service, I guess last weekend, small businesses who rely on the courier are hoping the intermittent mail delivery will be enough to get them back on their feet. Nirali Patel opened her Saskatoon business Revitalize Physiotherapy and Rehab in August. A huge part of her marketing campaign centered around promotional flyers that she wanted to mail to community members in the fall using Canada Post. Quote, "This was really vital for us," Patel said, adding she spent 50% of her marketing budget on the flyers. "We don't have a lot of connections around, so we wanted to really stand out." 1 week before she planned to mail the flyers out, the union representing postal workers announced the nationwide strike after the federal government laid out its changes to the courier's business model. Since then, Patel has been stuck with 10,000 flyers stacked in boxes and said the clock is ticking to get them delivered. The flyers have a promotional offer that can be redeemed when brought into the clinic, but an expiration date of November 8th is written on each of them. Patel considered using an alternate courier service, but she said the costs were too much. She's hoping at least some of them will get into mailboxes before the promotion expires. "If they do deliver those, that would be fantastic for me. It would be a huge help and will also help me with my stress that I'm dealing with." Hearing the postal union announce the end of the nationwide strike was a massive relief for Monique Poisson-Fast, who runs Stardust Artwork, a small home-based business in Saskatoon. They make and sell jewelry, prints, and stickers, often shipping in the mail flat items to customers through Canada Post at a low cost. It gets shipped with letter mail, and no one's going to pay $15 or $20 for courier shipping for $5 stickers, they said. Canada Post is really my only option. Poisson Fast paused all shipping on their website due to the strike, which they said resulted in a decrease in orders from customers outside the city. "My summer student position had just finished a week before the strike, and so I was gearing up for this to become my primary source of income again," Poisson Fast explained. Then the strike happened, which creates instability for sure. There are hopeful They are hopeful in the shift in job action. Sorry, let's try that again. They are hopeful the shift in job action will have less of an impact on small businesses and allow them to return to work with a little more certainty. However, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business questioned how much relief a rotating strike will offer small business owners. This kind of strike could increase uncertainty, Jasmine Gannett, VP of National Affairs, told CFIB. Sorry, I'm having trouble today. This kind of strike could increase uncertainty, Jasmine Gannett, VP of National Affairs with CFIB, told CTV News. According to Gannett, the current strike, quote, has been costly for a lot of small firms, impacting sales and cash flow. He said not knowing when and where rotating strikes will take place only adds to the uncertainty. While the limited resumption of mail delivery will help small businesses, he said it will also mean continued backlogs, delayed deliveries, and frustrated customers. Quote, it's a baby step, I would say, in the right direction, but it's not what is needed, he said. What is needed is a full stop to strike activities. In a news release, Canada Post welcomed back its employees, but said rotating strikes challenged the company's ability to provide reliable service, and as a result, all service guarantees will be suspended. And yes, Canadian Union of Postal Workers began its rotating strikes on Saturday morning, and local branches will be told when it's their turn to rotate out of service closer to that time, which reflects what was stated in the previous article, stating that people don't know from day to day whether or not it is going to be their turn to be on rotating strikes. So that is the latest that we have to you from Canada Post. At least there is the resumption of some service for the moment, and hopefully the employer and the union will be able to come to some type of understanding as to what is going on there. One other thing that we want to look at today before we go, kids and cubs, is the fact that there changes to some tariffs from let's try that again. Changes to some tariffs that had been imposed by the United States with regard to lumber are coming into effect and are definitely going to have quite the impact on Canada here. According to Courtney Dixon of CBC News, BC Premier David Eby is calling on the federal government to protect forestry workers as new tariffs imposed by the U.S. president threaten to topple an already struggling industry. On Tuesday, the U.S. slapped a 10% tariff on Canadian lumber on top of a 35% tariff already in place. The U.S. also put a 25% tariff on some Canadian wood products like furniture. The news is devastating for communities like Grand Forks, British Columbia, where local mill operations are already precarious. In early September, Interfor announced curtailments across all of its North American operations, including in Grand Forks. But last week, the community learned the mill would be shuttered indefinitely. Truck driver Doug Gailey is one of hundreds impacted by the shutdown. When the closure first started, we thought we were going back on October 6th, and then the 1st of October, they were told everybody it was going to be indefinite, Gailey told CBC's Daybreak South. He said it was a big shock to the community. Now we just got to sit and wait and see what's going to happen. In an email to CBC News, Interfor's Vice President of Corporate Communications and Government Relations, Svetlana Kayumova, said the decision to reduce operations in September and then to halt operations in Grand Forks indefinitely was the result of, quote, persistently weak market conditions and ongoing economic uncertainty. We continue to face significant market headwinds and the ongoing impact of U.S. trade actions, including increasing softwood lumber duties, she said. These pressures have made it difficult to operate certain facilities sustainably. During a news conference on Tuesday, Eby demanded the feds provide funding to keep forestry workers afloat during what he described as an additional attack on the industry. Prime Minister Mark Carney promised $1.2 billion in support for the softwood lumber industry in August, but the BC Council of Forest Industries President Kim Hackstad said that money has not yet come through. Forestry Minister Ravi Parmar said he wants to see that funding not tomorrow, but today. Quote, we can't wait. Our forest sector here in Canada is on the line. Eby expressed some anxiety about the situation, adding that often provinces like Ontario and Quebec are front of mind for federal leaders, leaving BC in issues that affect primarily British Columbians all but forgotten. Quote, when auto parts makers, when steel workers in Ontario, when their jobs are threatened, it's treated as an emergency, and rightly so, Eby said. What we're asking for today is that the same respect, that same concern, that same sense of emergency is shared for the forest sector in this country. In a letter to the feds, Eby points out that Canada is subject to higher tariffs on lumber than Russia. He said the province will be launching an advertising campaign in the United States to point this out. BC is certainly not the only province affected by lumber and wood product tariffs. New Brunswick Premier Susan Holt penned a similar letter to the federal government last week, pleading for softwood lumber tariffs to be made a top priority. Quote, in some communities in New Brunswick, 1 in every 11 workers depends directly on forest projects, Holt wrote. Quote, the impact of mill curtailments or closures would be immediate and severe, resulting in job losses, reduced government revenues, and fewer resources for essential services. Eby worries many forestry companies will not survive these latest challenges, which would be devastating for hundreds of workers and their families and entire communities in British Columbia that are dependent on the forestry industry. Back in Grand Forks, Gailey said the town had been quieter than usual as workers and their families deal with uncertainty around their employment. Quote, places ain't as busy as they used to be, he said. The government has got to inject some kind of funding into the valley here to help everybody out to make it through. So yes, we have some additional softwood lumber tariffs coming, and it would seem as well that when it comes to the auto sector, kits and cubs, that Stellantis, if I'm not mistaken, has announced that I think it is $13 billion worth of investment is going to be heading to the United States instead of Ontario. According to the CBC, Stellantis announced it will invest $13 billion US over the next 4 years to expand its manufacturing capacity in the US, a move that will take production of one model out of Ontario, raising concerns about Canadian jobs. The company, formerly known as Chrysler, says the Jeep Compass previously slated to be made at the Brampton assembly plant will move to the Belvidere assembly plant in Illinois. Stellantis says its new investments will increase its U.S. vehicle production by 50% and add more than 5,000 jobs. But in Canada, it means, quote, auto jobs are being sacrificed on the Trump altar, said Unifor National President Lana Payne in a statement. The Brampton, Ontario plant has been shut down since early 2024 for retooling to build the next generation model of the vehicle, but that work was halted in February as tariff threats loomed. Payne called on the government to take action to protect the jobs. Quote, Stellantis cannot be allowed to renege on its commitments to Canadian workers, and governments cannot stand by while our jobs are shifted to the United States, said Payne, whose union represents thousands of auto workers at Stellantis, Ford, and General Motors. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown called the decision deeply disappointing. Quote, this announcement represents a step backward from its commitment to modernize and retool the Brampton facility, a commitment that gave its 3,000 workers and their families hope for a secure and sustainable future in auto manufacturing, he said in a statement. Stellantis' $13 billion investment in the U.S. comes as the Canadian auto industry faces both uncertainty and financial pressure due to tariffs imposed this year by U.S. President Donald Trump, who wants to see more domestic vehicle production. Prime Minister Mark Carney called the decision, quote, a direct consequence of current U.S. tariffs and potential future U.S. trade actions. In a statement Tuesday night, Carney said the federal government was working with the Ontario government and Unifor to protect the Brampton employees and create new opportunities for them. Quote, we have further made clear that we expect Stellantis to fulfill the undertakings they have made to the workers of Brampton, he stated. I'm not sure how much making that clear would definitely influence Stellantis unless the federal government was willing to sue. So that's one thing, and that has not been stated. And it seems here that based on the previous paragraph where it says Carney said the federal government was working with the Ontario government and Uniform to protect the Brampton employees and create new opportunities for them, it seems that even though they are saying that they expect Stellantis to fulfill the undertakings they've made to the workers of Brampton, that they are pretty much accepting that this is a done deal and that they will not, while they expect Stellantis to do it, Stellantis, it probably won't. They also expect that Stellantis probably won't, and therefore seem to be resigned to this happening and looking to the next step. What are new opportunities for these employees, either in auto manufacturing for something else, retooling, retraining for something else, or having that Brampton plant change to producing other things. I was hearing an interview the other day saying that if they can produce pistons for cars, they can produce pistons for nuclear plants, for example. Um, so there might be other things that Brampton Assembly Plant, when they're talking about create new opportunities for the workers there, it might be new opportunities that are not necessarily in auto manufacturing, which is a, a huge change. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he stressed his disappointment with Stellantis and let them know he'll never stop fighting for the province's auto workers. Quote, "This decision is especially painful to those workers who have been put out of jobs for months," he said in a Wednesday morning social media post. Ford said no provincial dollars have flowed to the automaker for its Brampton project and that none would be moving forward until his government receives, quote, "clear assurances on when the factory will restart operations." Quote, "Stellantis has a duty to live up to their promise to Brampton auto workers and continue with their allocation in Brampton." And I find this really funny that Doug Ford, or ironic that Doug Ford is insisting that other people respect terms of a deal that they engaged in. Because Doug Ford has a long track record of following through on commitments he makes. Right? Anybody in Canada, in Ontario, who is benefiting from that UBI pilot project is certainly very familiar with what a Doug Ford promise is worth. He promised that that pilot program would be able to go through to the end, and then he got into power and he cut it. Or when he changed what was going to happen with municipal elections in Toronto as the campaign had already started, or when he said he would definitely not touch the green belt and then had his hands all over it like an octopus. Yeah, stuff like that. Ah, boy. Asked what will happen to the Brampton plant, a spokesperson for Stellantis said, "Canada is very important to us. We have plans for Brampton and we will share them upon further discussions with the Canadian government." Quote, "We have been in Canada for over 100 years and we are investing," said Luann Gosselin, head of communications for Stellantis in Canada. She's pointed out that the company announced plans to follow through with a promise to add a third shift to the Windsor assembly plant in southwestern Ontario. Last week, when reports of Stellantis' upcoming investment were published in the U.S., one auto industry analyst told CBC's let's try that again. Last week, when reports of Stellantis' upcoming investment were published in the U.S., one auto industry analyst told CBC News such a move wouldn't be a shock. Quote, "It does not come as a surprise to me, and I don't think anyone who has been watching what's been unfolding in the United States should be surprised by this as well," said Tom Venetis, editor of Octane magazine. He says the new regime of tariffs is putting pressure on Stellantis to rethink its investment and manufacturing strategies. So, yeah, a little bit again more stress on the Canadian economy, unfortunately, as a result of all of this going on. All right, kits and cubs. Let's see if I got a couple of other things for you other than conservatives losing their mind at the fact that it seems that former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is kissed a girl and he liked it. And that girl is Katy Perry. That also happened over the course of the weekend, and I just found it interesting how conservatives so wanted Trudeau to be gone, and now that he is, can't stop thinking about him and can't stop commenting on absolutely everything he does, even though he is now a private citizen, and it's really none of their business. But they just can't quit him for some reason. Oh well. Oh, by the way, on that Stellantis thing, Unifor President Lana Payne is definitely not happy with what's going on and doesn't seem to be too happy with the Prime Minister, which is a little bit of um, a gap, a little bit of daylight being formed there. And also, with regard to all of this, listening to some pundits and strategists talk about that, there seems to be some concern that we may be inadvertently playing into Trump's hands by moving away from wanting to negotiating a comprehensive all of Canada deal that would still be trilateral with Mexico, because as we've mentioned on the show, the thing that Trump hates the most about CUSMA is that it is a trilateral deal rather than a bilateral one, because bilateral one does not allow the United States to bully the junior partner as much as it would like, because there could be situations where the two junior partners gang up 2 against 1, and Trump doesn't like that. Um, the U.S. in general doesn't like that either, but Trump particularly doesn't like that. So there's some talk about whether or not CUSMA will even be a thing, and by moving away, by sort of accepting that there will be no lower tariff, or there won't be any situation going back to what was before. And now we seem to be working on getting some of those sectoral tariffs reduced, that we may be unfortunately falling into a trap of saying, okay, well, let's reduce the tariffs in these particular sectors, therefore playing sectors against one another. So, in order to get, then people wondering though, so in order to get to steel tariffs reduced, are we going to be making some concessions on supply management? Are we officially going to give up on autos in Ontario and from the United States in order to get the tariffs on canola and other agricultural products from China removed instead? Um, right? Or will we go all in trying to save the auto manufacturers and let the canola industry uh, die on the vine, for lack of better expressions? So we might be in a situation inadvertently where we're starting to agree to divide and conquer, playing sectors against sectors and deciding which ones we're going to save and which ones we're going to allow to be sacrificed. And with our provincial premiers, what we've been seeing lately is that mood that was in Regina of all of us working together to stand up against Donald Trump is starting to fray now. We've got DEB fighting with Smith. We have Wab Canoe and Scott Moe, Saskatchewan, saying, yeah, take off those EV tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles to save our agricultural industries. And you got Doug Ford going, oh, fuck no, not a snowball's chance in hell. Do not do that. Hey, I understand that Moe and Canoe have to talk about what's the best interests of their province, but I need to talk about what's in the best interest of mine, and you certainly can't let that happen. And then turns around and then other provinces turn around. Why does Ontario always get anything, like we just heard in that article? Ontario gets everything and we never get nothing. So that's the divide and conquer strategy that Donald Trump likes so much, and some concerns that we may be walking into that. And as this grows longer, that unity between premiers, that we would spread the pain as equally as possible through all regions, so not any one was devastated, seems to have not beholding when we're seeing all the premiers going, no, save me, no, save me, no, throw them under the bus, no, them, they don't need that, we need this more, and trying to force the federal government to pick between them rather than trying to find a way that we can all work together. So if this was to drag on, this was somewhat a little inevitable that this would happen, because our premiers, if we look at COVID, have shown us that they're not particularly good at maintaining a common front for a certain period or sustained period of time before individual other issues or temporary political advantages, opportunities for them pop up, and some of them decide to seize them rather than remaining on the team or sticking with the original plan. A lot going on here. Exactly. There we go. Let's see, what else do we have here for you, kits and cubs? Prime Minister Mark Carney is come back home today from his trip to Egypt for the Gaza Peace Summit. And according to his itinerary, he'll be convening a virtual meeting with his front bench team at 10:30 in the morning. And probably that announcement by Stellantis will be on the menu for them to discuss, as well as what's going on with Canada Post. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly will share her industrial vision at an afternoon conference hosted by the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, which will include a keynote address and fireside chat, during which the minister will outline national priorities, discuss growth levers for business, and provide concrete pathways for them to build locally while expanding Canada's presence in international markets. That will take place at around 1 p.m. Atlantic time. Also on the Atlantic Circuit, Secretary of State for Small Business and Tourism, Rishi Valdez, will, quote, highlight a new initiative that will support Nova Scotian rural and remote businesses during a morning visit to Nova Scotia Community College's Lunenburg campus in Bridgewater, and that will be at 9:30 a.m. Atlantic time. Internationally, Defense Minister David McKindy will be making the rounds at NATO headquarters in Brussels, where, according to his office, he'll take part in a series of high-level discussions with allies and partners, including a closed-door huddle with his NATO counterparts, as well as a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group, which he'll recap for the media during a doorstep later today. And Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson is off to London for what the advisory describes as official meetings and events, including an evening forum on, quote, critical minerals in the Americas, co-hosted by the British, Argentine, and Canada-UK Chambers of Commerce. Conservatives will have their employment critic Garnet Genius holding a mid-morning press conference to unveil his party's youth jobs plan. I'm going to guess it's different than Doug Ford's youth jobs plan. Just look harder. And interim New Democrat leader Don Davies is booked for an afternoon call with the Ontario New Democrat MPP Chris Glover to talk about Canada's future with artificial intelligence and democratic reform at 3 p.m., as well as an in-person chat with representatives of the BC Federations of Students before making an appearance at a rally in support of Gazan Canadians outside the Vancouver offices of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. And that will be around 7 p.m. Meeting with representatives of the BC Federations of Students will be around 5 p.m. There. And that's other things going on today in politics. All right, kits and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you loved listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do, especially when you share a little bit of yourself, when you do that, why our content resonated with you and stuff like that, because you are influencers in your own community. And hopefully when people read your posts, they say, oh, this is a person whose opinion I value. I will check that out. If they like that, I might like that too. And that helps us a lot. Now, kids and cubs, if you're looking for us to help you, you can do that thanks to the generous contribution of the Ray Girl, who sponsors our pod page. And that is podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words, or you can scan that QR code that has just appeared. And I got something stuck in my throat all of a sudden. Pardon me while I cough. Thank you for your indulgence there. So if you go to our pod page and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the audio cast bandwidth, it will come directly to your podcast feed. And that way you can pop us into your ears and take on the world and remain informed at the same time. So thanks for that. Now, if you would like to help us, you can do that by grabbing your e-surfboard and making your way on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, the QR code of which has just appeared up in the corner, and Kits, Elaine, and Cassie will nod in approval as you play with our buttons. Like, share, and subscribe. Give them a little click. It makes us happy when you do, and it helps us with the algorithm. And if you would like to help us in other ways, Kits and Cubs, we do incur some costs in bringing the show to you. And thank you to Kit Nona here on the chat, who made a donation via our super chat function today on the live show. Very grateful for your contribution, and hopefully other people will follow your example either today or in the coming days. But if you would like to help us, Kits and Cubs, we would definitely appreciate your help with the costs that we incur to bring this show to you. And you can do that by finding the Emergency Hydration Fund at the Beaver Lodge via our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And if you go there and drop a couple of loonies or toonies into our jar, they will make such a lovely sound when they hit the bottom, a sound that brings us some joy and happiness because it lets us know that we are being encouraged to do more of what we do. And with that, you do your bit to keep your favorite beaver moist. Hmm. Because after Thanksgiving weekend, uh, the only two things that are probably better moist than not are a beaver and cake. I really can't think of any other two circumstances. A towelette. Yes, moist towelette, moist cake, and moist beaver. Other than that, I'm not too sure that moist is a good thing. But if you would like to help us maintain our moistness, then we would be happy for your help. I know that word. It's not everybody's favorite word either. But we thank you for your generous contribution, kids and cubs, because a well humected beaver is a very happy beaver indeed. Uh, Thank you for your contributions. We really do appreciate it. And if you would like to avoid the US CE Tech Bros when you're supporting us, we have a way for you to do that because we encourage Buy Canadian, and that is by making a direct transfer from your bank to ours using our email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. And that way you avoid the CE Tech Bros. They do not take a cut. We get 100% of your donations, so it goes further. Win-win, and we can do more with it to bring some content to you, content that you hopefully appreciate and that resonates with you. So thank you for all of your support. That email address, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, is where you can also write to us because if you're not able to contribute financially, maybe you can contribute in other ways by letting us know, good, bad, or ugly, what you think of the show, or having some guest suggestions for us for our interview project. We would definitely love your input. So thank you for writing to us there. And if you want to reach us via our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter. And I saw the comment in the chat. I thought he said shitter. I said jitter. It's close, but shitter is what I mean. But since they call itself X and I refuse to call it X, I call it jitter now. XHITTER. So if you would like to reach us at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge or on the Jitter, then you can do that via at True Eager. You can also go to our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, and which is our original home. And we had to do a little troll control. It seems that some trolls have found us, and so we did a little bit of that yesterday. And hopefully, it's now a bit more of a pleasant experience. And if you are watching us on YouTube, kids and cubs, right down here in the comments section, if you whether or not you're watching live or if you're watching at your own convenience, please let us know what you think. We're not able to answer everyone, but we do read everything, and your financial and written contributions go back into the show to make it better because this is your community too. And we definitely want to serve you. All right. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, remember forever-canadian.ca. Please go there to sign the petition. Very, very important to get your name on the list for a citizens' initiative on the ballot that would keep Alberta within Canada. I believe there's probably a few more weeks left for the signatures in the second signature period. Somebody asking in the chat, I saw earlier, whether they thought that Forever Canadian would make the 300,000 signature threshold or something around there, given the short amount of time left. But at the halfway point, they were at 230,000 with 70,000 to go. So if they maintained momentum that they had, and uh, they had a decent amount of momentum and they get more press visibility every day. We're still trying to get Mr. Lukasik to come on our show, but he's very, very busy in the final push. And I'm sure he's getting a lot of messages and either has not seen ours or has not had the time to respond to it yet. And hopefully we would be able to get him, if not before the end of the signature period, hopefully after, to get an idea of how things went and what the next steps are. But he's a very busy man at the moment, and that's completely understandable that he would not necessarily have time for smaller outfits like ours when he's definitely making a broader and bigger appeals. If you live in Newfoundland and Labrador, take a day off. You've done your democracy for a while, so have a rest. But if you are in Alberta, you have some municipal elections coming on October 20th. I believe in the province of Quebec, there might be some municipal elections coming around November 2nd. I know in Gatineau there are for sure because I've seen some ads for the mayoral race there. So I'm going to guess that's throughout the province for November 2nd and November 3rd. Yukon territory, you will have territorial elections. So everybody get familiar with your candidates, help and volunteer if you can. All right. Words of, oh yeah, and remember, petition E6679 or E-6679 House of Commons petition to in order to try and encourage our politicians to be a little more honest. We're at 34,247 signatures so far, and let's hope that we can make that grow until November 27th. You have to sign that. So, and again, kids and cubs, I will put that link in the chat for you. Please share it far and wide with your friends and family and let them know why it is they need to sign. And remember, you do not have to be 18 and you do not have to be a citizen of Canada to sign a petition. You just need to be a permanent resident. So please, if you don't have chances to participate in Canadian democracy in other ways, this is a chance for you to participate. Please sign the petition. We very much appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Words of wisdom, kids and cubs. I am just going to say today that when tech gives you a little bit of frustration, 3 deep cleansing breaths, and then try again. And when in doubt, unplug it and plug it back in or reboot. Sometimes you might even want to give it a little jiggle. You never know. Every now and then I go out to the monitor and I just pet it. It says, "Come on, kitten, you can do it." Sometimes some positive reinforcement and talking lovingly to your computer works as well. Kids and cubs, it can be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, kids and cubs, please, if you would, it's time for some audience participation. Can you say, "Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock"? On 1, 2, 3. Ooh, it was almost like there was some kitchen party sounds in the background. I love a good kitchen party, so here we go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. And some very news about a Canadian who has made us proud. Olympic medalist, weightlifter Maude Charron went to the World Championships in weightlifting not that long ago and ended up picking up a silver in weightlifting at the World Championships. They were in Ford, Norway, the 2025 IWF World Championships there. And just over a year after she won Olympic silver medal in the women's 59 event, she finished as the runner-up in the 63 kilogram event at the World Championships, lifting 103 kilograms in the snatch and a personal best 133 in the clean and jerk for a total of 236 kilograms, matching her career best total lifted when she competed in the 59 kilogram category when she reached the podium at Paris 2024, and the same total that won her Olympic gold in the 64 kilogram event at Tokyo 2020. So congratulations to Maud Charon for doing us so proud. And with that, kits and cubs, I am gone. And again, under 2 hours, 2 days in a row. Hey, woohoo!